Welcome to the CJP show. This is I'm going to be talking with Samantha and Parr, my first cousin, my father's sister's daughter. She's an only child. We were best buds when we were younger. On my wall right here, if you could see, I only have one of the few pictures I have on the wall is a picture of me and her together. And that reason why she was my first female relationship with someone when I was younger, and she had a large part with how I grew up, and I really appreciate Samantha, and I look up to her in different parts of her life, and I try to emulate Samantha in parts of my life. Certain parts. I know too much about Samantha that there's only a certain much you can learn from her. There's still some. Anything you have to say, Samantha, for your intro?
I totally agree.
To give the big ones, she definitely has more friends than me. She always makes fun of me that I have that many friends, and I'm like, well, kinda.
Well,
Holding
kinda.
friendships better than me. I just think my friends are cooler than your friends. That's all. That's besides the
Oh,
point.
I don't know about that one. I think my friends might be a little bit cooler.
You know who I was talking to today? Actually,
Ooh.
Jasmine Slay. We're,
Oh,
we were
really?
we were talking about dog poop and talking about is it okay to dispose of your doggy poop in other people's trash cans? How do you feel about that, Samantha?
Honestly, a trash can's a trash can. It's all going to the same place.
Mm-hmm. I was also on the same thing. By That trash can is actually not your trash can. It's property of the waste management. And my point was, yes, you're allowed to use public trash cans or the trash cans of other people as long as whatever you're disposing of isn't leaky, because the
Yeah.
person of the household is responsible with the upkeep of the trash can. So I gave
Yeah.
her some little logic that she can use against any people that holds her against her, or if her inner battle with herself. I definitely made sure that she came out on top on that one. So,
That's good.
do you have anything you want to talk about our early relationship of being youngsters together, growing up together? I'm talking about in the ages of 2 to, I don't know, maybe 8. We were best buds, maybe even later. Now we're good cousins, but I wouldn't call us best buds.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we were like brother and sister when we were growing up. I feel like we were always together.
Most definitely going to ECLC or preschool together.
Mm-hmm.
My early memories are with you.
Same. I feel
Hmm.
like I got along with you way more than your brothers at first.
And I think we still do get along better than more than my brothers. It happens to be that I think you and Noah have a better relationship than me. I don't know. Right now, I think
Yeah,
Noah.
but we work together, so we have to see each other.
Yeah, Noah's a wacko.
He
I
is a
agree.
wacko.
Definitely, when we eventually get him on the podcast, I would love to pick Noah's brain because my worldview, I would say, give a good 40% of it to Noah, because Noah knows how to live a good life.
He really does. He does.
Despite the horrors of life, despite how bad life actually is, because life is suffering, and Noah definitely knows how to live a good life.
He does.
Circle from that, we can talk about your relationships with your family. Do you think how does being an only child really think you affected your relationship coming up? You're already
Honestly, honestly, I feel like my mom always told me I was a weird only child because I always wanted to be around people and I was never alone. And I think that partially has to do with me always being around you and your brothers, like growing up, because we were all the time. We were all hanging out as a family. So I
well,
think that took a big part in it.
interesting. I would say having brothers is probably so many brothers that abused me, and having World War III fight amongst ourselves is why I was so introverted for a long stretch, because I want to be like, oh my God, leave me alone, and I shut myself up in my room and play video games. Where
Yeah,
I could see
that
that
do it.
having just enough sociable, would you want more? And definitely, you hold a lot of more friendships than I hold, and that is definitely probably the case because as your only child mixed with a little bit with us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Yeah,
like
definitely because I wasn't around you guys all the time. And I remember when Noah lived with us for a couple months just to work at Whittier College, he drove me up the wall.
oh, imagine living with the man. I'm so happy he now lives with his girlfriend. Since him moving in with his girlfriend, me and my brother have a great relationship now. Me and him
Oh,
are
that's awesome.
do a lot of great things. And I actually was thinking I thinking about your relationship with your mom, your dad. You have a great relationship with both of them, and I really like that.
I do. I'm glad for like our whole family that we get to see each other more often than not.
Well, with three-fourths of our family living on one property, it's not too
Yeah,
hard.
that that might help.
Like once I figure out how to do a whiteboard on this thing, like my professor does in her Zoom conference, I definitely want to give that story with you
Hmm.
about the combine. And I just need to be able to draw out a floor plan. I don't want to tell the story without enough telling
Yeah,
things. So I think, like I said, your relationship with your mom and dad is actually, I think you got a much better relationship with them before I actually got a good relationship with my mom and my dad. And you were actually part of the inspiration of me trying to grow that relationship with my parents.
oh really?
Uh,
Oh.
I know that I never told you that, but I really appreciate you showing me how it's supposed to be done.
Oh, I thank you. I feel like at first I had a little, when my parents went through like their little divorce. At first it was like hard for me to get along with my dad, but now everything's obviously so much better.
Divorce, not divorce, separated but not separated.
Yeah,
That's a whole
weird
nother
situation.
whole weird. It should be a TV show, honestly. Like
It's so real.
I should try to pitch this to Netflix.
You should. Having both my parents live in the same house, but they're not together. But they're like good friends, which is cool.
Yeah, they file their taxes together, so
Yeah.
they're still living in the same household, and
Mm,
that's what the taxes are by household in. So it's definitely no bad business going on there.
exactly.
Media and communications is your major in Cal State Fullerton, like a decent college. How do you why communications? Because you're a very sociable person, is my guess. Any other thing you want to fill in there?
Yes. Well, at first I was just doing communications because it gives a wide variety and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But they have emphasis at Cal State Fullerton. So I'm in the entertainment and tourism one. And the entertainment part of it got me really into, oh, I might want to be something with communications and film. So then I doubled majored in cinema and television. So they all kind of connect together. And Cal State Fullerton has really good like specifics for those different majors. So I'm enjoying getting a
Well,
whole view of it.
I say Cal State Fullerton is world famous. Why? Because of the movie Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah,
do,
we did get mentioned once in there.
do you want to tell the how in Crazy Rich Asians it was mentioned? Yeah, do you recall it enough to tell that story?
Yeah, I mean the guy, I don't know, I think it was the actor.
Yeah,
Correct me
uh,
if I'm wrong, but the actor that had gone to Cal State Fullerton,
yeah, it's the
and
actor
he mentioned
himself.
it.
He's actually a doctor. The guy who the crazy Asian guy from the Hangover movies. It's actually that actor. He was the father of one of the main character's friend, and he pretended that he didn't know the language, and then he's just joking. I went to Cal State Fullerton, so any of those who haven't watched the movie, you're welcome for ruining a joke. That's free
Yeah.
of charge. Joke ruined. You're welcome. So,
Cal State Fullerton was very proud of that mention.
go Titans. So, let's shift that into coronavirus. How you feeling, Samantha? Because
Um,
I've talked to you and you're not too worried. You seem to be keeping a mellow head. You're not anxious or anxiety inducing like some people I've talked to.
no. I feel like all of that adding extra stress, just there's no, what's it gonna do? How's it gonna help you? It's not. So
It
why
probably
stress about it?
even worse makes you even worse. Lower your immune system. Why? Because you're stressing. I think the
Yeah,
cortisol levels
exactly.
lower
I feel like
your.
you have to have a mellow view of like what's going on right now. Like, of course, be careful, be cautious, distance yourself, but don't overthink about it. Don't over stress about it because that's just hurting yourself and you're not going to enjoy the time you could be having, exercising or doing something productive.
I would say I like to say don't sacrifice like you're sacrificing for public health doesn't mean you also have to sacrifice your mental, physical, and emotional health as well.
Exactly.
So obviously you're not so worried about corona. Let's actually shift that into let's take a little bit of a break, and when we get back, we'll talk about birthright and all the things around that birthright, and we'll bring in a little special someone so we can pick his brain as well. And we are back. Quick break. We actually brought in a surprise guest, a Greyson, Samantha Parr's boyfriend, who they've been dating. Actually, they met on a very Jewish way Jews meet, which is birthright. And that's what the next part of conversation I want to shift it to, because I don't think enough Jews understand what they're missing by going on such a great trip. I was lucky enough to go to Israel 4 times in my life and have a total of a year and a half probably there, a little bit less probably, but a total of a year and a half. And I loved the nation. I was just wondering about birthright. Do you think it changed your Jewish identity?
Oh, most definitely. I feel like it brings you closer to it, and you get to see everything you learned growing up as a kid, or even if you didn't, you get to see everything that, you know, is important. And I feel like it's really just meeting everybody and hearing everybody's stories, and it just brings you so much closer, all in all.
And seeing the actual space. By the way, I'm getting a little feedback on your mic, so can you make sure it's not moving up too much? So you have a. What do you think it brought you close ethnically, culturally, socially? What type of Judaism? Because I know me personally, I have 3 different Jewish identities. One is a cultural Jewish identity, the tradition. I have a religious Jewish identity where I found my faith in God, and I'm pretty confident in the Jewish Judeo-Christian God. And I have my ethnic Judaism, and that ethnic Judaism is brought by the anti-Semitism in the world, where you don't have a choice about being Jewish or not Jewish because the world decides for you. By the world, I mean anti-Semites. And do you think your birthright brought you close to a specific one of those, or do you think in general you think, oh, I'm now more Jewish?
I feel like it definitely brought to all 3 of those, because definitely like coming home from it, I definitely
So let's
want
go.
to do all the holidays and be
Okay.
involved more and meet other Jewish people and eat all of the above.
Okay, so let's go individually into each one. How do you say cultural Jewish? Is that because of the holidays you said? Did you want to, like, did you celebrate Passover with your family this time? Were you involved? Or like I would imagine you celebrated with Grayson's family. If Greyson, if he's on the mic. Hello, Greyson.
What's up, man?
What's good? How do you feel about, first in general, how do you feel about birthright, and how do you feel about birthright with your Jewish identity?
Well, before birthright, I didn't really understand or know too much about my culture and my religion. I know a lot of my family, their kids went on birthright and stuff, and they told me to do it when I turned 18. And so for me, it was kind of just jumping in head first, not really knowing what it was all about. But birthright for me honestly changed my life. I'm more attached to my religion than ever before, with all 3 aspects that you were saying, with culturally, traditionally, and ethnically. And obviously, I met my beautiful girlfriend,
Ooh.
and I don't know, it just really changed my outlook on life and kind of just impacted me pretty hard.
Well, I just want to throw it out there that I like that my cousin is dating a Jew, and
Me too.
of all my cousin's boyfriends, I'm most happy with this relationship she's holding,
Me
because
too.
I like the way that Samantha Parr is handling the situation, and I really am pro Samason Parr, some, I don't know, Gray Sap, I don't know, something like that, whatever your couple name is, and I really do like that. So let's actually shift that into, how do you guys meet? Because you guys said birthright, but come on, how do you guys meet? Was it in the LAX? Was it in the, was it in the plane? Was this like waiting for the bathroom? You guys actually started that first conversation?
Well, we definitely first officially met at the LAX International Terminal Airport. And we talked a little bit on the plane over to Israel, but after that, we kind of went our separate ways. And then I don't know how many days in.
Like 6 days in.
Yeah, closer to the end, we actually got to talking and like
Actually,
getting to know each other.
that's actually a very good point that you guys might have not brought up. You want to actually talk about birthright? Like, what is birthright? For those who don't know what birthright is, I realized, oh my God,
Oh yeah.
what if you're not Jewish and not in the Jewish community? Let's actually talk about birthright. I will give a little brief. Birthright is a program that is supported partially by the government of Israel and partially by Jews around the world that want Jews to go to Israel. And it's a program that is basically free to be for some people, or you have to just pay for the flights. And it's a 10-day trip where you travel the important sites of Israel. You have many different types of birthright. You have an environmental centered, political centered birthright, where the whole point is to show Jews that the Jewish land is there and it's their land and they ought to fight for it. So do you have anything to add? Because I didn't go on birthright. I've never been on birthright. I went on a different trip that disqualifies me for birthright. What is birthright to the two of you?
Birthright is literally a life-changing experience, and it's super cool because you don't have to go on just one trip. You can go on a trip specific to your liking. Like, there's so many different trips. Like, you know, like what you said. You go.
And Greyson?
Yeah, birthright is just, I'm trying to find the best way to describe it because you can't really describe it in a sentence. Like I said, I didn't really know what it was. I tried to do as much research. I didn't really do as much research as I should have. I kind of just sent it, I guess. My family told me that it was just an amazing experience and I should do it since I had the opportunity. But I
And
mean, you make the best friends that you've ever met, and you have amazing food, and you get to just explore your heritage. And I think it's the best possible way to do that.
it's very, very nice to hear. And when you say send it, do you mean like full send it, bro? Or what do you mean? How do you mean by just send it?
I mean, you can't think about it too much. You just got to do it.
Oh, that's very interesting. And I think that's some important in other aspects of life that isn't birthright. Do you feel like you do that, Grayson, in certain aspects? Is that how you finally sent it with Samantha Parr? Did you make the first move, or did Sammy here have to, step up for the two of you?
I think I did.
Yeah, I think
Because he kind of looked like he was just moping around.
well, she talked to me first.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go bother this kid. He looks like he'd be fun to mess around with. Like, just poke him and bother him.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. That I'm sure Grayson appreciate you bothering him too.
Yeah, I love it.
He's very pro bother. Okay. So it sounds like you guys met on birthright. It sounds like Samantha set that snowball in rolling, the snowball that you guys are quarantined together. That's some serious stuff right there. That's
Yeah.
you guys are trying to survive a pathogen together. That's not no joke. But before birthright, you guys lived a state apart. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, at first, we both didn't really know if we wanted to do the whole long distance thing because it just seems,
And how
you
long are
know,
we talking about? Samantha, you live in Whittier.
yeah, Orange County, Northern Orange County, and then he lives just north of Phoenix.
Just north of Phoenix. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's about how many miles? 450
Um,
miles? 600 miles? How many hours? Let's quantify it
It's
in like drive time.
it's about a 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a commitment.
Yeah.
And that's
It
just
could be
going
worse,
straight.
but
Is that with gas or without filling for gas?
with gas.
Okay. So I would imagine you need to at least get gas. So long distance, how do you guys make it work? Are you FaceTiming every 3 times a day? You got like a weekly or daily phone call that you guys look forward to? Or
We
looked past tense?
we usually FaceTime when we're not together. We usually FaceTime every night, and then we're usually pretty much texting all day.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
That's probably a large reason why I don't keep my relationships, because I really despise texting. I hate it as a form of communication. I feel I'm someone who's very sarcastic, and likes to play with his conversations, and usually text does not allow that. I do
Yeah,
really
text is
appreciate.
hard with that.
I really appreciate the addition of emojis. That makes my life a lot easier, but it's still not good enough. And so you went from long distance, and how long did you guys do that?
We're like 7 months together, so we've been doing it since the beginning. We met in June and then we started dating in September, so even before that.
Hmm. And did Grayson finally grow the Webbos to ask you out, or did you also have to do that?
No, he finally grew the balls and did it.
That's good to hear, Grayson. I'm like I hope you learn from your birthright. You got to send it in life, and just got to send it, my dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went from long distance to quarantine together. Who brought up that idea? Because it ain't no joke to be surviving apocalypse together. Whose idea was, hey, let's go to Arizona and get quarantined, or why doesn't Grayson come to California get quarantined?
Well, at first I had originally planned, because my spring break was coming up the week that this kind of all went down, to go to Arizona and hang out. But then this whole pandemic happened, and Grayson had come out the last few times, and I really just wanted to hang out and get through the pandemic together instead of being apart, because
Well, you
we
guys
were
are
gone
dating.
months without seeing each other. Yeah.
You guys are
There's also
dating.
14 million less cases here than there is
Yeah.
there.
That's
Oh yes,
also, my parents thought it would be a better idea if I went there, because no one has it out here as much as they have it in Southern
yeah.
California.
Population density and the coasts are where all the Asian people are. I wonder how many Asian people are in Arizona. And everyone say, okay, community cases. We're talking about early cases where who are going to be your transmissions, people who travel from China, people who travel from Europe, and all of these metropolitan areas are a lot more cosmopolitan than Arizona. Let
Mm-hmm.
me quantify my point. So Grayson, I want to talk to you specifically before, not even you and your relationship, I mean you specifically. Is it
Hmm.
dope being an only child? Because I think the male only child is much different than the female only child. How does it feel to be an only child?
Well, I never really thought about it too much until Sam started calling me out on it. Apparently, I am a little bit spoiled and stubborn, and I like to get my way. But I guess the one thing that I appreciate about being an only child is that it's okay to have quality time alone. And I will say, you do really get to know yourself when it's just you.
I have no idea how to be. I have two older brothers, and I have a good relationship generally with both of them, and I can't even imagine a world where they're not there, and like us versus parents. Like at least we had those. Like we had camaraderie over that. Do you have some sort of camaraderie that you search for outside of your parents? Like, because you have to have somebody. Did you turn to a hobby, video games? I know you were taking photos, maybe photography. Where do you find that outlet of, like you said, you want to turn inward, but that could be inward but outward at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I have an amazing relationship with my parents, and they've always been my best friends and stuff. But I've always been into doing just, I don't know, hobbies, interests and stuff. Like I said, I skate, play drums, music, photography. I've been cooking a lot over the last month. Just stuff to like keep you busy and get you through those lonely days.
Interesting. So you like, well, I mean, as it is lonely to be an only child. You say get you through the only lonely days, as if the day by default will be lonely without a certain interaction, or do you feel like that's not the case? I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
No, I mean, growing up an only child, um, it does have its benefits, but it also has its cons too. I mean, you're alone way more than sometimes I would like to be. Um, and my parents are both busy doing their own things, and sometimes I won't see them all day until like dinner or whatever. And so you have a lot of time to just really just be in your head and
Mm,
just think all day. And sometimes you have good days and sometimes you have bad days, and it's just, I would say you just get pretty lonely sometimes, but
mm,
sometimes you just have to use that as a tool and just help grow and
sure.
build yourself up.
And I really apologize, Grace, and I should have asked these questions before coming on the podcast because you are my cousin's boyfriend, and I feel like I should know these things, like basic information about you, because I care about my cousin. Uh, do you have a good friend group? Do you have like somebody you can turn to?
I mean, I do, but
Because
in a sense, no, sometimes. I mean, I never really had a big friend group in high school. And I'd say I've always just had a couple friends here and there. And I have a small friend group now, just maybe three of my close buddies. But we don't hang out as much as I would like to and stuff. But,
well,
that's why I'm really happy that I have Samantha.
I
Um,
tell you, I'm a very introverted person as well, and it sounds like I don't want to assume such of you. I can only speak of myself, where I am very introverted, and I have
mhm.
bursts of extroversion, and I definitely feel the same. Where my friends from high school is, yeah, I was friendly with everyone. I was quote unquote class friends with everybody because I like to be a good person and deal with people in a positive way. But I feel like it's just a statistics problem, dude. If there's not enough good people, like given enough time, you're gonna find good people, and you're eventually gonna find them. But you just got to give it enough time.
Yeah.
So, how
No.
does it feel? Two only childs, you put them in a blender, in a relationship blender. What comes out? This is a question now to the both of y'all. Only child times only child, or only child to the power of only child. I don't know exactly how to phrase it. Do you guys butt heads? Because I would imagine Samantha got her way quite often, from my experience, and you get your way according to your what you're saying. And then who gets their way, or who gets his or her way?
Yeah, we do.
We definitely butt heads once in a while with like getting each other's way, but we understand that that's how we are, and we kind of come to like a middle
Yeah,
every time we have something that comes up.
The
but
old
usually
age.
she gets her way.
Hmm. Well, I do. She is the female, and like in most
Yeah, that's how it
relationships,
works.
they have the power apex is there, and especially one in our age group, you're not bringing home the bread. So at least the patriarchy isn't on your side on that one. So,
Exactly.
and I just want to put it out there. I fully support my cousin being in charge because she's my cousin. And anyone that says otherwise I'm sorry. I care about my cousin a little bit more than Grayson. I'll tell Grayson that to his face, which I am right now.
No, I 100% agree with you. She should definitely be in charge because I don't know how I made it this far.
Well, I would hope that you can learn from Samantha, that there's a lot that you can learn from Samantha. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's a lot that I learned from Samantha, especially my sociable side. A lot of that is because of Samantha and Parr and her showing by doing. And I wouldn't have been as sociable if it wasn't for her. So I would give you the advice to listen to Samantha. Maybe not on anything, gain a little chutzpah, a little audacity of your own, but
Hmm.
definitely listen to her. She might let her wind blow you towards a certain way. So that's very interesting. So how did you specifically, Grayson, felt about the whole long distance Arizona thing beforehand? Because I asked Samantha about it and I didn't get to you.
Um, yeah, I've been in a handful of relationships,
A
but I've never done,
handful.
yeah, and
Excuse me.
each one worse than the last. But I,
Except
I've
for me.
I've never done well. Just kidding. I've never done a long distance relationship, but I was willing to definitely give it a try because I have a great deal of feelings for Samantha, and I really did at first. I was like, "There's no way I can go without like ever seeing this girl again." So I have to make it work somehow, and we did, and it's working great.
And you said that's because of modern social media. You think that long distance relationship could have survived through, I don't know, the 1750s, where where we write letters to each other, or do you think it was only possible in our micro world or globalized world where, yes, we are across state lines? That's a federal issue across state lines. You're still just a phone screen away from each other.
Yeah, I mean, the FaceTime and texting and Snapchat and all this stuff has definitely been a lifesaver. But I think if we were to be in that situation where it was, I don't know, 1800s or whatever, and there's only letters and telegrams and pigeons, letters and stuff like that, I think we still would have made it work somehow.
Oh yeah, you would learn Morse code for my cousin here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. You hear that, Samantha? He would learn Morse code for you. That's like good
Aw.
old Boy Scout stuff. He'd go like beep 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 beep. That means I love you. Oh, how cute. Okay, so and how do you like about being quarantined together, Greyson?
You know, it has its pros and cons. It's definitely, so far, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. That one is just because we do butt heads, and like I said, I've been an only child my whole life. I've never had to really share a lot of stuff with someone else my age, and so us being together 24/7 for, it's been what, like almost 3 weeks now. Um, it's amazing, but sometimes it gets tough. But then you're like, I'm with my girlfriend, so how bad can it really be?
Oh, bro, it sounds lit. Like if I was with a girl, I would definitely want to be quarantined with my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend, so it's kind of sad. But if I had a girlfriend, that sounds like a pretty lit situation, if you ask me. Like I don't want to get into that because she's my cousin, but ew. But it sounds like a
No,
lit situation.
she is definitely the best person I could be quarantined with.
So well, let's talk about your video making, Samantha. Why do I not see your trip across Europe yet? I want to see that online.
I
Your video,
know.
your
I
video making
know.
is lit. You're quarantined together. You're doing nothing all day. Where's your videos at? Where's your
I
content?
know.
At home.
Samantha, I've been doing this for 3 days. You're already podcast number 3. I'm happy to happen. I already have 3 other podcasts scheduled to shot Wednesday. Why are you slacking?
Well, one, I was really stressed during school, so I put it aside. But now that this whole thing happened, I was like, this is the perfect time to do it. And then I forgot my SD card at home because it was so last minute that we decided to do this quarantine thing.
Well, I tell you, my elevator pitch that I want to pitch to both you guys is use Samantha's new car. Sammy just got a new car, by the way. You want to tell us about your car? I think it's a great car.
It's a great car. It's orange. It's me.
It's hatchback, and that's perfect for camping. You both
Yes.
should legit travel across America. Check this, the great parts out, every single one, and vlog it. That's perfect. Quarantine together, social isolating from people. You're in the middle of nowhere, and I think that's a great video thing, and I think you would be in. You'd be famous. You'd be the next, I don't know. What's that lady that actually did the exact same thing, except she lived her whole life out of a van?
We've always talked about doing a van. That having a van like that sounds so fun.
But
I'll
you're
be
you're like 70% of the way there having a hatchback. You don't need a van.
I guess that's true.
Like just put down your 2 back seats, put down a mattress there. You're only 2 people. You don't need those 2 back seats. They don't serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my pitch to you guys, and I think as long as you have your 4G LTE, you can get your schoolwork done. I don't see no reason why not to. So I'm calling you out, Samantha. I'm stepping up with this podcast, and I will be posting daily or at least bi-daily, every other day. And that's a guarantee that I'm giving to you. So I would like you to step up, Samantha. Why? Because you're my cousin and I care about you, and you ought to step up.
I do need to.
And let's actually finish that off with one last question. Talking about relationships. And that is, you want to talk about grandma?
Grandma?
Yeah, our grandma. And your relationship with your grandma. I don't like it.
Your relationship with her or my relationship with her?
Your relationship with her. I don't like it. I think both of you are too much nanny. She's 100% nanny. You're like 30, 40% nanny. And that's why you guys butt heads.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you're
think so
related to her.
too.
Like, you're related to her.
Yeah, I just think we butt heads a lot because I feel like she calls me out on things when it's not needed, or I feel like she just has this resentment towards me that
Well, I'll,
shouldn't
t-
be there.
I'll tell you what exactly it is. It's her trying to control your life.
Yeah, and she doesn't like how I do some certain things, and I I feel like I'm the type of personality that won't put up with somebody telling me what to do. So I feel like we butt heads in that sense of the area.
Mm. Well, like I said, even perfect Samantha and Parr, who's bad B word, because this work is gonna be, and I think Samantha would call herself the same, and I love it that my cousin is a strong, independent woman, and I love it. I love women, and I love my cousin. I love my mom. She's also a strong woman, and
Yes.
I really appreciate that from you, Samantha. So basically, what I learned, usually how I end each podcast is to say, what did I learn from this podcast? First is loneliness. It actually gave me an actual relook into my own life and my own introversion. And you, like the more of an analog of introversion, is the only child, and I never really looked at it that way. And you guys really did just open my eyes. But what I said after that was literally me figuring it out with you. So that's definitely my definitive
That's
answer
awesome.
to how my things. But I wouldn't have realized that from that perspective if we didn't have this podcast, and I think that's really cool. That's the point of this podcast.
Exactly.
And that was really that introversion is. I learned so much. Like, that's what I gotta say. Oh my G. I need to actually like seriously think about that point for a little bit. That's still running around in my head since you guys mentioned that. Or you guys mentioned the meta of that. Anything you learned specifically from this podcast about yourself, about me, or anything else?
That you're the best podcast person ever, and everybody should listen to this and spread it around like joy.
Yeah, you're like a Jewish Joe Rogan.
That's kind of what I'm going for. I'm thinking about actually, you want to talk about names of this podcast? I'm thinking about what it is right now is the CJP show, but I don't think that's much. I'm thinking about just Zoomers exclamation point.
I like that.
Or when I finally do get experts on females, Zoomers with boomers.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's a lot we can learn from boomers and the boomer generation, except they fall in the same. Every generation we get 5 to 10% better. I want our generation, Samantha, Greyson, to make the world 100% better.
Me too. I agree.
And I want, and we can. We're just starting our lives now. Everything else before this was putting life on trial or error mode, like a tutorial. Like if you're playing a video game, we were on tutorial mode. That's what the first, until you turn 18, 21 for some, 27 for others. But I think it's now we're finally growing up. It's time for us to emulate how we want to be in the world. We shouldn't fall in the same patterns as the boomers. And yes, I think on general, we are better people than the boomer generation because the boomer generation did such a good job. But I want to be the difference. I want our generation to be the next great generation.
Me too. I agree.
The great generation is the generation that dealt with World War II, and people realized how much they stepped up, and they literally call them the great generation. Let's make this the roaring 20s, and let's actually change the world together.
I'm here for it.
Anything else you two want to finish off on before I give my final call out?
Well, just thank you for having us. I'm glad you wanted to talk to me. I feel so special.
You're my third person on the list, Samantha. You're that important. And I have one question for Greyson. Is that with an E or an A?
An E.
Okay, you want to spell that Gray?
Greyson.
Awesome. So I make sure to have you on. So I want to thank you both once again. I want to thank anybody who's still listening or listening to my prior podcasts. I'm going to have a podcast with more experts in fields, not just my family, and understand why I am the way I am. I'll sprinkle them in so you understand why I'm the way I am. And I give Samantha about 5 to 20% of the reason why I am the way I am.
Oh, it makes me feel so special.
And I really, really want to show the world that we can do better. And the whole point of this podcast is to learn together. We can learn from anything and anyone. And even Samantha and Parr, sap.
Sap.
Sap. And that's what we will end it on. Sap, 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 sap.